Hi everyone, let's create a very simple task board on Monday.com. My name is Marley. I am a certified Monday.com expert and have implemented Monday workflows for about 200 companies. Let's get started. So we're going to be working towards building a task board that looks exactly like this, where we have the tasks on the left. We're going to connect the due date with the assignee in the status column. We're going to get reminders on the due dates and also create automations. When a status changes to any one of these statuses, it will move it to their respective groups. If you're interested, stick around to learn more. So what we're going to do first is create our task board. Let's go ahead and click on the plus sign on our left panel. Go into New Board. Let's name this board as Task Board. All right, and then we could call this Tasks. Hit Create Board. Now that this board is created, let's go ahead and edit the names of the groups and create more groups. I'm going to add another group at the bottom by clicking this plus sign. All right, how I like to structure my task board is I want my top group to say upcoming tasks, then my second group to say ready to start, my third group to say working on it, and my fourth group to say completed. So let's go ahead and call this upcoming. Let's call this ready to start, because not everything upcoming is ready to start, okay? So let's say working on it. This is complete or done. Okay, and of course, colors matter for me, so I'm gonna go ahead and change the colors. Click into done. Let's click on the color button next to it. I'm gonna say done is green. Working on it is this really pretty orangish yellow. Ready to start, that is gonna be a pink for me. And upcoming, I always like to make that blue. Beautiful. Okay, so we kind of have a little bit of a structure here. I'm gonna collapse this on the left. I'm gonna change the name where it says person, which doesn't really tell me anything. I'm gonna call this assignee, okay? And then the status label, I'm gonna add some more status labels to reflect what we just added on our board. So I wanna create the status label upcoming and ready to start. So let's click on status, right? We could just click in anywhere, click into it, hit edit labels. I'm gonna create 2 new labels and I'm gonna drag it up to the top, drag this up to the top too, and change the color to match what I have for upcoming, and this one to match the color that I have for ready to start. So I'm gonna name this upcoming. I'm gonna name this ready to start. Working on it, stuck, done. Perfect. Okay. Apply. Beautiful. I am gonna call this due date. And I also wanna see the day of the week. So I'm gonna click on the 3 buttons to the right of due date, go into settings, go into customize date column, date format, hover over it. I like the way this format looks, so I'm gonna go ahead and hit that. Yes. Let's talk about a couple other columns that I would like to add on my Monday.com. So I'm gonna add a column to the right. I wanna do creation log. So I'm gonna type in creation log because I wanna know who created it and on what date. So I think this is really nice. We don't have to call it creation log. I can call it date created. And then let's see, what else? Ooh, I wanna know, add more columns. When was the last time someone even updated it? So I hit last updated, add to the board. So you see that? We just have now last updated by Marley 3 minutes ago. If I change the status to say upcoming, it'll say last updated by me just now. I love this column. All right, I think this is looking pretty good for a really simple task board. Okay, well, we didn't talk about automations. All right, let's add some automations because when this status changes to working on it, I want this to bump down to working on it. That is going to be something that automations can do. So let's work on that together. Let's click automations on the top right. Create custom automation, because we're gonna do everything custom. All right, when this happens, then do this. Okay, there's a trigger and there's an action. This is where understanding Monday terminology is very, very helpful. We wanna say when a status changes to working on it, move item to this group, right? So say when this happens, when a status changes to something, then do this. Move item to group. When status, we click on the status column, changes to something, I'm gonna do it for all of these, right? Upcoming, then move item to group, upcoming. Create automation. Beautiful. Since we have created this very, custom, I guess, recipe, I could hit add new automation and recreate that whole thing. But for me, it's really easy if we just click onto the 3 buttons of what we already created and hit duplicate automation. Yep. And now I'll just change this to say when a status changes to ready to start, move item to ready to start. Create automation. Great. And then let's duplicate this again. When status changes to working on it, move item to working on it. Create automation. And when, duplicate again, status changes to done, move item to done. Create automation. Beautiful. So we have that automation working that's going to move them up and down the different groups, right? Let's do a test. I want this to move up to upcoming. Item 4, upcoming. Yep, there you go. And then we have this to working on it, and it moves it down to working on it. Yay. All right, and let's just test done with a little confetti. Done. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, let's now get reminded maybe on these due dates. That's always an important automation. So I hit automate, create a custom automation. When this happens, when date arrives, now you're gonna use this automation even if you wanna be reminded 3 weeks, 2 days before, or the day after. It doesn't matter, we're gonna say when date arrives. And now is when we specify when exactly that date is going to be. So let's say for me, it's when that date arrives at 8 o'clock. If you wanted it to be 3 days before the due date, you wanna hit this button and say 3 days before, or 3 weeks, or 3 months, right? So for me, I'm gonna hit when date arrives at 8, and what's the date column? On in our board, which is due date. So when due date arrives, click on, then do this, type in notify someone, boom. Someone, I want it to be the people column, meaning whoever is assigned to it. So let's hit people column, hit assignee. Now we need to define the notify. What does that notification look like? I hit the notify button and say item name, which is our task name. Item name is due today. That's it. Done. Create that automation. We're almost there. The last thing I want to do on this board is set the due date into a deadline mode with the assignee and the status. What this means is when you look into this board, you can very clearly tell what is overdue and what is not overdue. To do that, let's hover over due date, click on the 3 buttons, go into settings. We want to say set as deadline. And now we want to connect it with our status column. If you have more than one status column on your board, you're going to have to click into this and select the status column that you wanted it to be connected to. But for me, since I only have one option to choose from. Hit status, choose a person column, assignee, and I'm going to connect the columns together. Okay, beautiful. So now you could tell what are the dates that are overdue, because it shows you in red, and when you hover over it, you can see exactly how many days it's overdue. And the other cool thing about deadline mode is when I say something is done, right? It bumps it down to our done. We did that via automation. But when you hover over done, you'll see an exclamation mark or a check mark, which signifies to us right here that this was done 4 days after deadline or this was done on time. And that's it all. That's our very simple task board. Peace.